check. 1, 2, 3. Check, check, check. Hi.
Thank you.
Tiff, you good? Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing.
I still have it coming in pretty low, but
Low.
is there any way for them to turn the audio up just a tad?
I can ask. Yeah. Still, is it still low right now?
Yeah, for me at least.
Okay.
Mine is
Hi.
good.
Yours is good? Okay. Everybody else's?
I've got mine jacked up.
Hey, Brendan. Good? Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Mic check. Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Good? Okay. All right, official 2-minute warning, okay? All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, thank you all for coming to the Tropical Storm Elsa press conference. I'm going to introduce some of the speakers that I have behind me. Starting from the right, we have Emergency Management Chief Steve Lichauer. Next to him is State Senator Jim Boyd. Right to my immediate right is Congressman Vern Buchanan. To my left, we have Manatee County Administrator Dr. Scott Hopes. To the left of him is Manatee County Public Safety Director Jacob Sauer. And then we have at the end Manatee County Commissioner James Satcher. And now I'm going to pass it over to County Administrator Dr. Scott Hopes to kick us off.
Thank you, Chloe. And as Chloe mentioned, I'm Dr. Scott Hopes. I'm the Manatee County Administrator. Appreciate you being with us this afternoon for our Tropical Storm Elsa briefing. You'll hear that the Hurricane Hunter just found 70-mile-an-hour winds in the wall, which means we are probably expecting a Category 1 hurricane, or at least hurricane warnings to be posted. So at this time, residents and visitors of Manatee County, you should be finalizing your hurricane and tropical storm preparations. Moving forward in the next few hours, the weather is going to be deteriorating. So please finalize your plans and secure your homes and get ready to sort of bunker down and ride out this storm. With us is Director Sauer, who will brief you on the details. Oh, no, sorry. With us is Congressman Vern Buchanan, who would like to say some words. Congressman.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Let me just tell you, I had a good briefing. I think Manatee County and this region's prepared. I would just tell you the fact of the matter is we could have almost borderline in terms of a hurricane. We're talking about potentially 75-mile-an-hour winds. That's qualifies for that. I would just tell you in terms of the forecast, there's a lot of confidence in the tracking, a lot of confidence. But I just kind of remember a while back with Charlie. As a hurricane, it was a Category 2, turned to a 4, and then it made a beeline to exactly to the right. So my suggestion would be, obviously, the barrier islands, whether it's Santa Maria or any of the barrier islands around the West Coast, you've got to make sure you're doing everything you can to tighten everything down, because 75-mile-an-hour winds, and you'll get some of those no matter what in terms of gusting anyway. You need to be ready and prepared, and you don't have a lot of time to do that. But again, I want to just congratulate or recognize the counties for their leadership, because especially Manatee County, they've really stepped up in terms of, I think, handling this right way. Not, overexposing it, but at the same time getting out the information. We've had a lot of calls to our office, and a lot of people are concerned, especially a lot of our seniors in the region, and especially around the barrier islands, as I mentioned earlier. So you've got to do whatever you feel like is the right thing to do, but you need to do it now. Thank you.
Next, we have State Senator Jim Boyd.
Thank you, Dr. Hopes. I don't want to be totally redundant, but we did have a very good briefing with the county. I feel our county has done extremely well in preparing the community for what's to come. The old saying goes, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. I think that's where we are. Let's don't take anything for granted. Secure your family, secure your property, and if you have to get away from the coast to make yourself safe and secure, please do that now rather than later. Our office, I'm the senator representing this entire community, so our office stands ready to help any way we can before, during, and after the storm. If we can be of service to you, please call. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have our County Commissioner, James Satcher from District 1.
Thank you, Dr. Hopes. I just wanted to say that, our hope is that you will over-prepare and that this storm will under-deliver, and that we won't see anything catastrophic. But we want to provide you with all the information so that you can make the best decisions for you and for your family. So I'll be leaving here after this press conference. I'm going to run by the store. I'm going to grab 2 gallons of milk for my family. I want you to think about what you might need in the next 24, 36, even 48 hours, and plan accordingly. The port is open. As far as all the trucks can get in and out, there's plenty of gasoline stored there. There should not be a supply crunch at the port. The ships are not coming in and out, but the land side is open at this time. So there's no need to make a run on gasoline, but I do advise you, get your family prepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Public Safety Director Sauer will run through a short presentation, and then after that, we'll open it up for questions. Director Sauer.
Thank you, Dr. Hopes. Good afternoon, everybody. Jake Sauer, Director of Public Safety for Manatee County. Run through some of our latest details and slides that proactive measures we've taken here at Manatee County, and as the administrator said, we'll take some questions. So as of right now, Elsa remains a tropical storm with winds of about 60 miles an hour north-northwest moving about 12 miles per hour. No major changes with 11 a.m. update that we've seen. Models are in good agreement and on track. Those are pretty much set in concrete now. Elsa will likely make landfall somewhere on the Nature Coast in western Florida. It did emerge into the Florida Straits and the southeast Gulf of Mexico overnight and caused the storm to become fairly disorganized, but we have seen some slight strengthening this morning. Heavy rain, flooding, strong winds, and storm surge are still likely, and as you'll see through the slides, we are concerned with the rain we have had in the past couple of weeks, making the ground very unstable for large trees that could be blown over as Tropical Storm Elsa moves through. So here's our latest forecast track. As you can see, we do have tropical storm warning. Tropical storm force winds are expected somewhere within our area later tonight, starting around 6 o'clock, but really starting to see the effects of the tropical storm force winds sustained around 8 p.m. tonight. We are under storm surge warning, and that surge is reaching 2 to 4 feet above high tide, and that's likely within the next 36 hours. However, as high tide approaches around 2 a.m. this morning and the storm is in full force here in our area moving northward, we should expect to see localized flooding and barrier islands flooding as we move forward. So as I talked about our time of arrival for tropical storm force winds, we'll start to see rain bands and winds spreading northward across the area today as we move downhill, and then our sustained winds tonight. So southwest Florida, late morning, early afternoon, west central Florida, which includes us, late this afternoon, and then early evening, and then mid-evening overnight for the Nature Coast. But that will be sustained winds later this evening for our area northward as the storm moves forward, and we should expect those to last 9 to 12 hours. So some actions we've taken so far, we do have sandbag locations in 3 county positions. We have a self-serve distribution site. Bags and sand are provided for the public at our Public Works Distribution and Stormwater Facility, and that's at 5511 39th Street East in Bradenton, Florida. A full-service distribution site at GT Bray Park in the parking lot at 5502 33rd Avenue Drive West in Bradenton. And then pre-made palletized sandbags for distribution on Anna Maria Island at Manatee Beach parking lot, 4000 Golf Drive, Holmes Beach. I am happy to hear that residents have been making use of those sandbag locations, and we've had to refill them a couple of times today. We did close county buildings. Administrator Dr. Scott Hopes made a decision to close county buildings starting at noon today. However, because of CARES and the past COVID responses we've had at Manatee County, we did not close down or suspend operations of the county. Most county employees that do not have a function here in the EOC or public safety are able to continue their work at home virtually. All of our Manatee County libraries and our parks, including the beach parks located on Anna Maria Island, are closed effective at noon today. We're looking to reopen those at noon tomorrow. Shelters, we do have an emergency shelter open this morning at Manatee High School for those who live in mobile homes, low-lying areas, or areas prone to flooding. This is a non-mandatory evacuation, and the shelter is pet-friendly. If you were affected by Tropical Storm Ada in the past, Ada in November, you know what this tropical storm can do. However, we do expect to see a little bit more strengthening with this storm. So if you had any effects from that and you felt like you should have evacuated, Manatee High School is available, and that's 1 Hurricane Lane in Bradenton, and that is available now. However, you need to continue to make your plans and make them now to get to an evacuation shelter if that's what you so choose. Our special needs registry, they have been contacted, and they are being transported for evacuation to the county special needs shelter at Nolan, and that's in East County, and that's designated for those who are oxygen or electrical dependent to survive. And then Manatee County shelters are conducting COVID-19 precautions, and we are screening people and those who have COVID-19 symptoms before they go into the shelter. We're not going to turn anybody away, but we will put you in isolation if you do exhibit signs or symptoms. Our Citizen Information Center, you can reach our Citizen Information Center by dialing 311 from any phone within Manatee County border. If you need to reach Manatee County outside of our borders, 941-748-4501. We opened our 311 center at 8 a.m. today, and that will continue through the evening hours tonight to ensure we can answer all residents' questions as we move forward. Our Manatee County Area Transit and fixed route bus and trolley services were suspended as well as the counties at noon today, and we plan on resuming those services at noon Wednesday, July 7th. For utilities, the Lena Road landfill will close today. We do plan on reopening Wednesday, regular hours, or as soon as weather permits. There will be no garbage or recycling collected today in unincorporated Manatee County. And for those that have already put out their cans, carts, and outside lawn furniture, please bring your trash cans and your recycling back into your house or back into your protected area, as garbage will not be picked up today. And we hope to resume garbage service tomorrow. There will also be no recycling collected, as I mentioned this week. Yard waste and garbage will be collected Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week as usual. And all collections will return to normal on Monday, July 12th. And then, as always, report down wires and power outages. Please call 1-800-468-8243, and that's for Florida Power and Light. And we are using Peace River Electric in some parts of Manatee County, and they can be reached at 1-800-282-3824. So some reminders. Drivers should be aware that traffic signals may operate intermittently during a storm, and when a traffic signal goes dark, you're to treat it as a stop sign. All four streets of the intersection do stop. To report a traffic light outage, all you have to do is call 311, and then exercise caution around downed trees, and don't drive through high waters. Turn around as the road might be washed out. So here's the outlook of some things that we are expecting as we move forward from this point forward, and as we start to see tropical storm force winds sustained in our area. We are expecting 40 to 60 mile an hour, especially at our coast, and then damage to unanchored mobile homes, porches, and carports. Large broken tree limbs and shallow rooted trees will be blown down, and then scattered power outages with above ground lines. Our rivers overflow their banks in multiple places. We should expect that as the storm moves forward, with 3 to 5 inches of possible storm surge. And storm drains, retention ponds will overflow, and then flood waters may flood buildings and prompt evacuations and road closures in our area should the storm come through stronger as expected. Saltwater flooding along our barrier islands should be expected in our low-lying areas, especially those around the bay and at times of high tide. Moderate to major beach erosion, strong rip currents, and minor to local moderate damage to marine docks and piers. And then from this point forward, as we move downward, you can expect to see tornado warnings come out as we progress through the evening. We are under a tornado warning right now, and those will continue to move through our area as the storm continues its northward track. So our rainfall outlook, the yellow area, threat for flash flooding in Manatee County and most of Tampa Bay, significant threat for flash flooding as this moves through. Impassable roads due to standing water you can expect, and then water into homes and buildings in low-lying and flood-prone areas. As I talked about earlier, we are expecting tornado threats from this type of storm and Tropical Storm Elsa. You can see on the left there, the yellow area showing severe weather outlook and our expected Tropical Storm Elsa's path up north and the tornado threats that will be spawned from that type of storm. As I mentioned earlier, we are under a storm surge watch. From Inglewood, about south, 2 to 4 feet is expected, and then north of Inglewood, 3 to 5 feet as Tropical Storm Elsa moves forward. So some key takeaways, like I mentioned, we're pretty good with the forecast confidence. That's pretty much set in stone. The intensity, we do still believe that will intensify as it moves forward a little bit in getting closer to the Tampa Bay area. So many of our rivers, including the Myakka rivers in our area in our county, we can expect flooding from that area, and including some areas in the Manatee River. We do expect street flooding, especially near the coast and our barrier islands. And our strongest winds sustained 55 at least or greater, especially as you move closer to the coast and our barrier islands. Like I mentioned before, our saturated soils that have been through the last couple of weeks with the heavy rains we've seen will increase the probability of large trees being down, which will increase the possibility of power outages. Residents of Manatee County can expect power outages as the storm moves through and over this evening and possibly in tomorrow as crews work to restore those power. So with that, we can take any questions. I have Chief Steve Litchauer here from Emergency Management. I have all of these fine men behind me as well that can answer any questions should anybody have any.
Jake, just wondering, we have the 4th of July holiday. There's a lot of vacationers right now on Anna Maria Island. How do you tell them to take this really seriously? Because a lot of them aren't from Florida and may not know what they're going to be expecting tonight.
Yeah, so we've all seen, even if you're from out of the area, what even a tropical storm can do to a barrier island like Anna Maria Island. Just in November, we had widespread flooding, we had power outages, we had down power lines where, unfortunately, one of our residents died within standing water from a down power line. So they should take this tropical storm seriously, listen to you guys, the media, as we move forward. But this will not be a walk in the park as we move forward.
I heard that you said that the sandbox locations are open, and I checked before you said it on the internet, I said it was going to close at noon. Are they open or are they going to?
They are still open, weather permitting.
Right, so the other question is, any closing of the bridges?
No closing of the bridges.
And the other question.
That is not for the Sunshine Skyway. Obviously, our local bridges here going out to the barrier islands, and then our bridges crossing the Manatee River. No plans for any of those to close. As sustained winds get to a certain level, as weather deteriorates this evening, you can expect the Skyway Bridge to close.
The other question is, we have a lot of raining lately, and we have an emergency in Oslo going Piney Point. Are you guys worried about what will happen in the site?
Dr. Hope's take that.
Well, I'll tell you, fortunately, in fact, the congressman and the senator, we were just discussing that. Fortunately, a considerable amount of water's been moved from the southern retention pond, so it's probably down at about a quarter to a third of what it was before. And so currently, they are just moving stormwater drainage off of the site. The Manatee County government is conducting testing of that water, as is DEP. So that was our greatest concern. Now, this is an early storm for the season for our area of the coast, but currently Piney Point is stable, and it has the capacity to handle the rain, and they are only discharging stormwater runoff.
Since a lot of the severe winds are expected overnight, what should residents do if they find themselves in need suddenly, in the middle of the night? And as far as the Skyway Bridge, do you guys have a timeline of when that could be closed?
Well, so let's address need first. As Director Sowers mentioned and I mentioned, you really need to be finalizing your plans in the next hour or so, because the weather is going to start moving in, and we will be seeing tropical storm force winds starting sometime in between 6 and 8 o'clock tonight. So if you are in those areas, and if you live in an area that's prone to flooding, and on the barrier islands, surf, if you've got a 3 to 5 foot surge, on top of that, you may have 6 foot waves. So if you're in those areas, we have shelters open. If you're in low-lying areas, if you're in some of our manufactured home communities, Manatee High School is available to you, or seek out friends who you may be able to stay with. Because keep in mind, if you get trapped in your home at the height of the storm, we may not be able to get to you. So if you tend to be in those areas, as far as the barrier islands, I drove all of Anna Maria and to the north end of Longboat before I came back to the EOC. Most of the visitors are pretty much staying off of the beaches. There were very few people out walking around, and there was next to no one on the beach, which was a good sign. So you really need to finalize those preparations and get inside and stay inside. And if you live on the barrier islands and you start seeing saltwater intrusion into your home, be sure you turn off your power, because we had someone was electrocuted in the last storm.
Dr. Hopes, that's kind of controversial, but I know you mentioned that they would drop those levels of the ponds out there. Is there any reason that the residents in that area should be concerned? I know they mitigated that issue, but any reason they should be concerned?
No, not at this time. They have it pretty well managed, and when DEP was active on the site, they have all of those ponds are plumbed, so they can move water from pond to pond, and they've added a couple of other low-lying retention areas. So that's under control, and we have people out there today.
Can you talk about the efforts that you have lined up once the storm passes to maybe go in and help people after it?
We have a whole team, and Steve, you want to address that, or Jake? We've been planning since Friday, not just for preparation for the storm, but preparing our teams to move in as soon as daylight opens up.
Manatee County has what's called first-in teams, which are composed of public works with front-end loaders, chainsaws, supplemented by EMS, fire service, and law enforcement. There are 7 of such teams that we have ready to put in place. Those are made to open up the highways, the roadways, to be able to get the emergency service vehicles through to help the residents that need it. Remember, too, as the winds get over 40, 50 mile an hour, the first responders stop responding because of their safety.
Let me just add also, whatever the county, the region's going to need, I co-chair the delegation in Florida. We have the Senator Boyd here with the state. We will all work together to make sure whatever the county, their needs are, we can help them with that quickly. So that's kind of the goal. We're hoping this is somewhat minimum damage, but there might be some damage, and we want to make sure we're there in the next couple of days talking about what their needs are, and we will respond.
And I'll say that as we saw the storm approaching, Dr. Hopes contacted each of the commissioners individually, told us the situation. They looked at it legally and said we could go ahead and declare a state of emergency since we were on recess. So the county is also, you see the results, they're set and ready to go. We do have, that's just so that they have access to any funds or anything that they may need to get people the help they need to make it through this storm and out the other side.
Thank you, Commissioner. And that's that. And we also, because we declared I signed the declaration yesterday morning at 5:15. We have a representative from the state Department of Emergency Management Services that's in the building with us, working hand in hand as a partner.
Any more questions? Okay.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.